Hi, good morning, and welcome everyone to the Equal Engineers Virtual Women in Engineering Career Fairs for Universities. My name's Fayon, I'm your host for today. So before we get into everything, I just want to make sure both sides of the brain are working. So, do this with me. I know I can't actually see you, but I'm going to ask you to do this with me. My speakers as well, okay, who I'll introduce you to in a moment. Everybody, take your two fists and put them out in front of you, just like this, okay? Then take take your index finger of your right hand and point it towards your left. And then take your little baby pinky finger on your left hand and point it towards your right. Now, without sticking up your thumbs, I want you to just swap these over. Just swap them over. That's all you got to do. Swapsy swapsies. Now, I've been doing this for many years. It's not like I can do it now. But, if you can't do it, it's all about the power of yet. I can't do it yet. So don't worry about it. But both side of your brains are working now. So thank you for doing that with me. Good morning, and I hope you feel good. Leah's still giving it a go. So today I would like to, just before we get right into introducing you to everybody who's taking part in this wonderful session, we do have some housekeeping to do. So let me just run this past you. So welcome, of course, to our Virtual Careers Festival. So general housekeeping, simple as that. So as an attendee, your microphone will be on mute and you will not be visible on camera during the event. The meeting is also going to be recorded, so if you wish to receive a copy after the recording, then you can just get in touch at events@equalengineers.com. Now, the speaker and gallery view. We're all used to Zooming now, but just in case, you can switch between speaker and gallery view depending on whether you want to view the panelists at the same time, or if you only want to see the panelists who's speaking at that time. Troubleshooting. So close all other applications on the computer and device. If you lose your connection, just log out and come back in again. If you need any specific help at all, then just contact our events management team who are ready to help you on the actual chat function, and you can email them at events@equalengineers.com. If you have any questions at all, we have the employers in the afternoon virtual booths. So to access, you can just follow the link there. And the afternoon booths are going to be fantastic. It's an opportunity for you to really get into more specific questions about what you want to ask. And the Q&A function this morning, whilst it will be disabled, you will get that chance to ask questions in the booth later on. So join us straight after this fair. So then, who have we got? Who are in the boxes? Let's introduce everybody. So I'll just get everybody just to wave for now, if that's all right. So good morning, Stella from Rolls-Royce, who's a campus recruiter. We've got Min, EDI and Wellbeing Lead, with Holly, who is the Talent and Acquisition Manager. They're both from DE&S. We also have Mel, who's our Early Careers Talent Specialist at Edwards. Andy's here, he's the STEM lead at BAM. And Deborah, Talent Advisor at BU UK, Infrastructure. Leah's here, Project Engineer at UK AEA. And we have Elizabeth, who's the Chief Executive Officer at the Women's Engineering Society, known as WES. And we're also joined by student ambassadors, Rachel, Manor, and Jan. So welcome, everybody. It's really, really good to see you all. Thank you for being here. So just a reminder once again, you are going to get opportunities to ask questions directly to these fantastic speakers directly after we finish here at 12 o'clock. And you can do that by going on to our employability booths, and the Q&A will be open there for you. So let's just do a proper hello now. You've all had a wave. You've all had a wave. So Stella, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Faye. I'm fine, thank you. Are you?
Yeah, really good. It's great to have you here. And Min, good to see you.
Morning.
Morning. Are you well, Min?
Very well, thank you. It's sunny around
Excellent.
these parts today.
Thank you for joining us. Mel's here, of course. Hiya, Mel.
Hiya, morning.
Great. Andy, how you doing?
Hey up, you all right? Greetings from Leeds.
I was going to say, you're the only fella in this whole chat holding up for the blokes. Deborah's here as well. Hi, Deborah.
I'm fine, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. And Leah, how are you?
I'm not too bad, thank you.
Wonderful. And we have Elizabeth as well. How are you cooking, Elizabeth? You good?
I'm very good this morning. Nice to see you all.
Yeah, it's good to be here. And Rachel, whereabouts are you? Our first of our student ambassadors. Where in the country are you?
Hi, in Middlesbrough, just near Newcastle.
Excellent. And Manor, where are you?
I'm in St Albans, so in Hertfordshire.
So not San Francisco then?
No, unfortunately.
And Jan, where are you coming in from?
I'm in Glasgow just now.
You're in Glasgow, fantastic. Okay, well, I really, can't emphasize how grateful we are to have you here to share your knowledge and experience, and for our student ambassadors who'll be asking a few questions as we go along. So I'm going to open up the discussion with our first question to everyone. So the way we're going to do this, because there's quite a lot of speakers here on the chat, which is great. So I'm going to ask everybody in order the same question. And then once you've heard all the answers, if Manor, Jan and Rachel want to come in with any questions at all, that would be fantastic. Does that sound all right, everyone? They're nodding. Fantastic. Well, here is the first question then. So actually, the student ambassadors don't have to ask questions about this one, because I just want to find out about your daily role, a little bit about your organisation and what your day-to-day role looks like. So I'll start with Stella.
Yeah, good morning, Fayon. So my name's Stella, as you've said, and I'm the campus recruiter at Rolls-Royce. And my day-to-day can vary so much. So it can be supporting these events, it can be promoting the events, but also it's about seeing some amazing young people that are coming into our assessment centre who are interested in the apprenticeship or the graduate scheme. So it's very varied, but that's what I love about the role.
Fantastic, thank you. And same question to Min.
Oh gosh, every day is a new day. And leading on diversity, inclusion and wellbeing means that we cut across the whole organisation, work with everybody across the organisation to deliver diversity and wellbeing initiatives.
Wonderful, thank you so much. And Mel.
Morning. So I'm the Early Careers Talent Specialist at Edwards Vacuum Limited. So Edwards, for those of you who don't know us, are a leading global supplier of abatement and vacuum solutions and part of the Atlas Copco Group. Echo what Stella and Min have said, that no day is the same. It encompasses absolutely everything. So the design and implementation of our early careers programs, but also days like today where we get involved with the STEM outreach. But yeah, literally I couldn't say that every day is the same, and especially in an engineering business as well. So always something new.
Fantastic. Andy, what about your day and your organisation?
Yeah, very different, just the same as what everybody said. So one minute I could be working with 14-year-olds, the next minute I'm doing something like this. I work a lot on, I work in the social inclusion team, so working with a lot of people who are really passionate about diversity and inclusion, which is brilliant. And one of the main roles is I create content. So videos, applying stuff, so helping young people or anybody really come into our business and do the best.
Fantastic. And to Deborah.
Hiya, so I'm the talent advisor for BU UK Infrastructure, and we are the leading independent provider of last mile utility networks. So we construct and operate essential utility assets throughout the UK. I'm exactly the same as everyone else. My role is completely varied. I'm very, very lucky, and it involves everything from recruitment to looking at processes to how to improve business performance, and to organising our graduate scheme.
Thank you. And let me go back to Holly.
Good morning. Hello. Hello. My role is Talent Acquisition Manager for the Engineering Department at Defence Equipment and Support. So my role is extremely varied as everyone else's, but I ensure that we identify, attract and secure talented individuals needed for defence equipment and support to deliver critical programmes of work for the armed forces.
Thank you so much. And Leah.
Hey, so I'm a physics grad turned project engineer, and I've just left the graduate scheme at UKAEA, which is the UK Atomic Energy Authority. We're the UK's fusion research facility, so our goals are getting fusion energy, which is a cool form of green energy, on the grid in the UK. And my day-to-day is like everyone else's. I could be installing stuff, doing paperwork, holding important design review meetings. So yeah, mine's very varied as well.
There's a pattern here. Elizabeth, are you going to break this pattern?
No, I'm not, because my job is also very varied. So the Women's Engineering Society is 101 years old. We are the oldest network of women engineers in the world, and we are the largest network in the UK, although in America, the Society of Women Engineers is probably the biggest in the world. So we were formed to ensure that women could get education and jobs and training in engineering, and we still continue to do that as well. So we now promote to the public the importance of women in engineering, and we support women in engineering as well. So my day could be anything from giving a speech or being on a panel like this, to talking to my board, preparing the papers for their meeting, managing my team, maybe recruiting somebody new, looking at all the finances to make sure that we can continue to do what we want, and also to continue looking forwards to our strategy. So it's all very, very varied. And I think that's the joy of engineering, is that for most engineers, no 2 days are ever the same, and that's why it's such a brilliant job.
Woohoo! I'm glad that everybody's saying the same thing. That variation in role, literally rocking up and going, right, this is what I'm going to do now. Oh, actually, I'm going to do a bit of this as well. Oh, and I'm going to do that. It's brilliant, really great. So just a reminder before we get on to our next question, that you will have that opportunity yourselves to ask questions directly to our panel at the employability booths that we have. They're going to happen straight after this session at 12 o'clock. So I hope you're thinking about what you want to ask as we get on to our second question. So the order will be the same of people answering. So I think this is what people want to know. All of these questions are good, but what exciting projects can engineers expect to work on? So let's start with Stella.
One projects which we can't talk about at the moment because they are really top secret, but some of the things that we can talk about, we've got the latest UK technology, and it's all around wearable instruments. So it's a bit like, and so that is something that they are developing at the moment. We're in the process of going for the world record for an electric aircraft, hopefully later this year, but it may be delayed to next year now, so with things happening around the world. And that's all around the hybrid electric solution of being developed in partnership with Airbus. And hopefully that can then be translated into planes that are used for commercial or defence as well. We're also, the only car we're involved in is the Bloodhound car. So this has got a Rolls-Royce jet engine, and it can hit around 628 miles per hour. And they are going to be going for, in 2021, a world land speed record attempt. So we can't wait for that. So there's lots of new exciting things that are happening, and it's all around the space around digitalisation, electrification and sustainability. So there's going to be so many new projects that are coming online, and it's very much around those three areas.
Wow. Wow. I've been to Nevada, to where they did one of the world land speed records many years ago, and it's just to even be in that area, it just blows your mind. That is
it really
exciting.
does. And if anybody is interested, if they're putting Bloodhound car challenge on the website, you'll see an amazing video. I watched it last week, and it's absolutely fantastic.
Oh, look at you, you're beaming. You're so excited.
Engineering is just great. There's so many different avenues you can go into.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Stella. And Min, same question to you, please.
Well, I think I'm going to defer to my colleague Holly, who can tell you much more about what's going on in engineering than I can, seeing as I spend all of my time in diversity.
Thank you, Holly.
Wow, where to start? I mean, we offer the opportunity to work on a huge range of technical projects, from entry-level graduate positions to some of the most challenging projects on the planet. So what I'm going to say is going to sound really broad, but really come back in the Q&A and we can discuss loads of particular projects, because we start from initial concepts through to design and certification, all the way to support in service. So whilst we are known for delivering military capability for cutting-edge defence projects like remotely piloted air systems, Eurofighter Typhoons, our projects do span more than just aircrafts, tanks, submarines and ships. We also work on novel technology, including our future space capability, and we play an active role in supporting our future humanitarian efforts and global disasters across the planet as well. So there's really a lot to get involved in.
It's, again, really exciting. There's the breadth of opportunities.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Holly. Thank you. And Mel.
Hi. So again, quite a varied, and this is going to be, again, quite a broad kind of overview of projects, really. And there are some that I can't share with you, but again, you know, do come back and speak to our graduates, because they'll tell you about some of the projects they're currently working on. But I mentioned earlier that we are a global leader in the vacuum and abatement industry. So basically, you come across vacuum in your everyday life that you probably wouldn't have realised. So through the manufacture of semiconductors, flat panel displays, LED and solar cells, and also leading in vacuum technology in industries such as pharmaceutical, medical, chemical, you name it, it will be there. So anywhere that needs a clean vacuum environment to manufacture, then we will be involved in the background. But also, we are responsible for projects that could be the new product introduction. You could be designing, testing and evaluating solutions and making suggestions for improvement, or using advanced simulation technologies to optimize product design and application. So depending on your discipline, you could be involved in a whole range of projects across the business. But I think more importantly as well with Edwards, so our abatement side of the business, obviously we look at removing the toxic chemicals from manufacturing process before they're released into the environment. So our impact on the environment is spectacular, really, and we probably don't shout about it enough because it's part of our everyday. But yeah, that's kind of a very short, brief, simple overview, really. But do come back and talk to the grads, and they'll tell you about what they're currently working on.
That's great. That's great. Thank you so much. Again, brilliant stuff. Andy, same question. What goes on?
Yeah, so tons of infrastructure work with BAM Nuttall, and then tons of superstructure work with Construct. Two of the biggest, one of the most impressive ones that I've heard of since when I started. So there's two. There's one that's quite famous, so I'll go with the one that impresses me most. So you know the wind turbines that you see out in the ocean and stuff? So we designed a system where we turn them into boats. So the turbines come into port, we sail them like a ship, and do the maintenance and build them and stuff in a dock, and then we sail them out to where they need to go, and then we sink the base of them, and then when we want to do more maintenance or whatever on them, we raise them back up and we sail them back to port. That was unbelievable engineering, to be fair. And the second one, that's the most famous one, we're actually in Antarctica at the minute building the new port for the Sir David Attenborough. So we've been commissioned by the Antarctic Survey to go and do that. So we've got engineers going down there on great big ships full of God knows what to build, God knows what, all sorts of different things. And I met an engineer about 2 or 3 months, no, well, 2 or 3 months ago, it must have been last year now, because lockdown's killed us all off, hasn't it? And he'd gone down to Antarctica, and I said, what were the weirdest thing while you were working down there? And he says, well, one minute you're like, like if you're at work or whatever, or you're working on the street or something, and you might see a random dog or a cat or anything. He says, down in Antarctica, you'd be working, and all of a sudden there's an emperor penguin just stood watching you. So he said that was quite a strange thing. So that's probably one of the most famous things that we do. But then we do everything from, if you've been stuck on the motorway on the M1, we had a lot to do with that, sorry. The 62 as well, we've done all that type of works. Yeah, the rails and roads, that's what we like to do. We're involved in airport extensions and all that type of stuff. So you could either be working on something as massive as Antarctica if you want, and the amount of stuff that's in my presentation, actually, I'll talk about Antarctica a bit later on. So you can either go and do mad stuff like that, or you'll be working on quite local projects and things like that. But what's really cool about it is 1 minute you're doing something really local, the next you're doing something massive, then you might be on something that's round where you live, and then you might be going up to Scotland or wherever. So we're a UK company, and we do lots and lots of work, lots of variation.
Wow, I'm signing up to go and see the Northern Lights. Sign me up. Antarctica, I've got the gear, I'm on. How incredible, my gosh. And have you met David Attenborough at all? Have you managed to?
Yeah, we go out drinking every Wednesday. Pal.
Wouldn't you love to meet him though? He's got to be the best. He's got to be on the list for the person that you want round for dinner. Fantastic. Thank you, Andy. And Deborah, what's going on down there at BU UK?
So we are actually very unique as a business, because we are the only company that designs, delivers and owns the full multi-utility network. So heat, cooling, electricity, gas, fibre, water and wastewater as well. So this opens up so many opportunities for our engineers, because the market is constantly changing, and we need to be able to adapt and come up with new solutions to go alongside that. So some of the projects that I can talk about that we've worked on include Westfield in London, the O2. We did a big redevelopment at the King's Cross station in London, and a huge urban regeneration project in Bermondsey as well. And this is alongside housing developments throughout the country, and multiple other commercial projects as well. And what's very good, especially for graduates coming into the business, is we do a rotation system. So they rotate throughout the entire country, all of our offices, through all of the different utilities. So they get a really, really, really good overview as well over every part of our business, really, to get a full understanding of the full network.
Incredible. I mean, I live in London, so I know all about the works that you've done. I never knew it was you, obviously, but yeah, I've seen it all happen. King's Cross Station, which I haven't been to for so long, since the whole lockdown. It used to be my station. I used to bam in, sort of backwards and forwards, but the work there is exceptional. Well done, Deborah.
I had very little to do with it, but I'll say well done to all the guys when I see them.
You're the only one here, so take the praise. You're the only one here.
Yes, well done me.
Leah, what exciting things are waiting for people down at UK AENA?
It's so hard to say, isn't it? It's absurd. So we've got engineers aplenty. As I said, we're working in fusion energy, which is the same sort of system the sun uses to make power. So it's like super green and wholesome. We've got 2 fusion devices on site. One is a massive European project. We've got international scientists coming in to work on it. And the other is UK owned. You might have seen it in the news recently. It's called MAST. That's very exciting. no one's seen it in the news, and that's okay. So we've got engineers working on sort of the development and maintenance of this technology. It's like right at the edge of what's possible in engineering, which is why it's so much fun to work on. We've also got a world-leading robotics facility, so we've got robotics engineers working there. We have analysts and systems engineers and people working in a sort of very conceptual way on future designs for fusion devices. So yeah, we have a ton of engineers all in different roles, design and analysis. It's awesome.
Oh, wow, amazing. Absolutely amazing. I'll look out for the article in the news then. It's obviously something you're very proud of. Well done. So now for Elizabeth, you're maybe going to come from a different angle, because as a chief executive officer of an organization where you're really supporting women to be in engineering, I can't wait to hear what you have to tell us, Elizabeth, about what you help with belonging to WES.
Thank you, Fayon. And I'm a systems engineer myself, in that I was educated in systems thinking, which is the where you put people and stuff together. So and also where these problems become incredibly messy, which even though I don't do engineering in my day job now, I still use systems engineering to resolve some of our complicated problems. But one of the things I want to do is talk about the opportunities that are available in engineering that you might not know about. So for example, right now under the Thames, they're building a really, really big tunnel to take away all the sewage. Which will make London healthier and the Thames much better. And they've got a tunnel boring machine called Rachel, because they're all named after women. And she's called Rachel because she's named after Rachel Parsons, our very first president. So I went to see her last year, and that was really fantastic. We've got someone who's just come off our board, works at the Environment Agency. So she deals with flooding and all of the engineering around that. And you may remember the dam at Todmorden that collapsed last year. And that was a very messy problem, because you had to manage repairing the dam, taking all of the water out of the reservoir while not flooding anywhere else, evacuating the town and village around it, and also making sure that everybody was safe at the same time. And that's what we call engineering heroes, which will be our theme for 2021. So we'll be looking out for all the women in engineering who've been helping during being heroes, either during COVID or other emergencies. And also our president, Dawn Childs, she works at National Grid, so she helps keep the lights on. Or at the moment, because we're not using so much power, they're trying to find ways of how to not generate so much electricity. And they've done something like, several days, 30, 40 days or more, totally on renewable energy and not on coal or gas. And she used to work at Merlin Entertainment. So these are the jobs that you don't necessarily think about as engineering. So she was manager of roller coasters. And yeah, exactly. And if you've ever been to Alton Towers, there's a ride, or there was a ride there called Hex, where you feel like you're moving around, but actually the engineering that puts you all in a big drum and the room moves instead. So that's why you're moving, but you're not actually going upside down. And other things, we have had support from Costa Coffee. You wouldn't think Costa Coffee would be engineering, but they've built a brand new roastery in Essex, and it now makes 45,000 tonnes of coffee a year, and that's engineering. And finally, I want to talk to you about one of my favourite things, which is crisps. So if you ever go to the Walker's factory in Leicester, you'll discover that when the potatoes come in, they come in a big container, and they're not in bags, and they flood the container with water so that all the potatoes float out and don't get damaged. And then they then slice them. They have a machine that, as it goes down the corridor on the conveyor belt, it examines them to see if there's any green bits, and will reject all the crisps that have got any green bits in them. And then when they've deep fried them, they put them into these massive drums that look like tumble dryers in order to put the flavours on. And again, you need engineering to support that. And finally, when some of us who are as old as me, I'm in my 50s now, you may remember that when we had crisps when we were little, we would be really lucky if we got 2 or 3 big crisps in the packet, and the rest of it was all crumbs. And that's because, and nowadays you get lots of big crisps, and that's because Walkers inflate every bag with air so that when they're all put together in a box, they don't get crushed. And that is engineering.
Do you know, I'm just, I remember those days, because somebody told me about those days when crisps used to look like that. But no, I do remember that actually. And you know, when I open a packet of crisps now, I'm like, where's all me crisps? But it's true, the quality is awesome, and very rarely do you see one that's green or got, you know, a bit of mank on there or whatever. They are exemplary. Fantastic, fantastic. So any comments at all from our STEM ambassadors, you know, whether it's a question or just a comment on what you've heard?
It's great to just hear about everything that you're working on and see how passionate you all are about what you do.
Oh, the passion's there, isn't it? It's just like, you all sound to me like you've just started your jobs. You know, it's that freshness when you're speaking to these guys. So I just want to remind everybody that we will, or rather you will have the opportunity to ask your own questions. Straight after this session, we have the virtual booths and our employers will be there, and you have an opportunity to ask them questions, and the links are on the website so that you can get involved in that, and that will be happening straight after this one, after 12. So now, can I ask you, what support is there for women in the workplace? So the kind of thing that I'm after is are there any networking groups that women can join? You know, what support would be there for a woman who has had to take time out to raise children, for instance, and she's returning back to work? Or, you know, for any other reason that a woman might need to get that time off work, what is it that you have in place for them so that they feel that they really have, you know, your support and that you've got their back? So let's start with Stella.
Thanks, Fayon. Well, I mean, that's a really good question. And the thing is that I reached out and I spoke to quite a lot of female graduates in Rolls-Royce to get their view about what support is on offer. So quite a few things that we have got in place. So we've got a women's network, which is very supportive and very proactive as well. So they run events, they run social events, but it's very much about that they look to see how that Rolls-Royce can really support women within engineering. The other group we've got is we've got the Working Parents Network, and that's all around offering support where you can actually arrange to have a chat with someone when you're probably settling back in after you've had your child. You know, it can be quite stressful that all of a sudden you're having to juggle, you know, between childcare and also with your job as well. So they're there to really to support what you're going through and also to talk through their experiences. As well as that, Rolls-Royce are very keen to ensure that, you know, that they're getting the best out of you. And it may be that the best will be that you might want to take your child to school and want to pick them up from school. So they'll work around that. So they will talk to you about what hours is best for you. So typically our core hours are between 10 and 2. But some could start at 10 and then finish at 6, depending on the lifestyle and outside commitments. And then so that means they will then condense their hours possibly into 4 days. There's that flexibility to work longer days and to finish early on other days, and as long as you're making up your hours that you need to be working during that week. They also have the opportunity of shared parental leave up to 6 months. They offer compressed hours, so as Rolls-Royce supports and it's taken up by a large number of employees about working your weekly hours but in less days. So as you can see, there's many, many different options that Rolls-Royce can offer. But the best thing to do is come and talk to our graduates that are going to be available at the employee booths after this session, because they will be able to tell you, you know, what they support that they get. So, but there's lots and lots of support there. And if there's a certain issue that you've got managers there, and you've also got their support networks there who can support you through any difficult times.
Absolutely brilliant and fantastic. Thank you so much. I don't know if I'm supposed to do this. I don't know if I'm allowed, but I've just seen something pop up in the chat function. So as nobody's here to stop me, I'm going to share it. It's come from Tezavarok Abib. I'm sorry about any pronunciation. And they're saying, thanks for organising such an encouraging event. As women, we need a lot of support as environment seems to be less supportive. There is a little balance. So from what you've just said, it sounds to me like you really are addressing the balance there. So thank you so much, Stella. I don't know how that snuck through, but it caught my eye and I couldn't ignore it. So, Min, same question to you, please. You know, Min and Holly, I don't know which of you wants to take this one.
I'm happy to speak about this. This is kind of my bag. And it's really good to see that comment as well, because often people think that women are really underrepresented in engineering. And of course they are when compared to men. But, you know, organisations like ourselves at Defence Equipment and Support, we have loads of employee networks, not just for women. We are also connected across the whole of the Southwest region. Of course, our HQ is in Bristol, Abbey Wood. So we have a Southwest Women's Forum, which connects us with the rest of the civil service across the Southwest region. We also have groups that are setting themselves up all of the time. I spoke to somebody just last week to say, how about setting up a new women's network so we can talk in more local general terms about what, you know, supporting women within the organisation. We have a brand new graduates and apprentices diversity and inclusion forum, and that's to make sure that we are tapping into the needs or the requirements of new people who have come into our organisation, so we can be literally on the ground listening to any concerns that new people might have when entering at the workplace. We also have an incredibly flexible working environment. So we have, you know, flexible working, we can do compressed hours. We have not just, does everybody have their own delivery manager, but you also have a function development officer, because I suppose they do the two different things. Your delivery manager looks after your day-to-day work. Your function development officer works with you to understand what your learning and development requirements are, so you can be progressed throughout your time with the organisation. And together, as a trio, we work to make sure that everybody has the opportunities that they really need to have. I think even despite, you know, women, you know, being underrepresented in certain industries like engineering, the support is absolutely there from everybody around you to make sure that you feel welcome, that you can do the things that you need to do, that you can really thrive and progress within the organisation.
That's what we want to hear. That's exactly what we want to hear, Min. Fantastic stuff, really is. Thank you for sharing so much, and for the women that are listening and men that are listening as well. It's good to hear. We've only gone through 2 employers so far, but you're all encompassing in knowing that, you know, the support is definitely there for women. So thank you. So Mel from Edwards,
Hi.
what do you guys do down there to support women?
So I guess similar themes as what we've heard already, but certainly we've got a diversity and inclusion working group that we have. So we have champions across the business, and we've actually, I'd say but I think it's about 6 months now. Again, I think COVID kind of blurs how long these months are now. But we've got a new head of ED&I within the business as well. So setting up those working groups and those employer forums that maybe we didn't have before is certainly something that is high priority on our agenda, and actually I may even reach out to some of you on the panel with regards to some of yours. I think you're doing some really great things. In terms of individuals, again, everybody's individual and what their needs are going to be very different. So we work with everybody to look at, you know, flexible working options, you know, what hours suit around childcare if that's the issue, or it could be actually that you have carer responsibilities. So we also have, as part of our kind of getting women back into work is we're part of the STEM Returners programme. So that may be that they've taken a career break, whether that be for maternity reasons or other reasons. That's something that we're a part of and currently working towards. And also, I guess, really just setting up that inclusive culture within the organisation. So all of our grads who come into the business have a mentor. So your mentor is not just there for the kind of knowledge and technical skills ability of your engineering role, but also to support you as an individual as well. And again, I guess something that comes into it as well is around career progression and opportunity. So we have mentoring programs across the business where you may want to be mentored by a female senior engineer within the business. And I think that is something that then opens up those kind of career development opportunities as well, because I think sometimes it's about the day-to-day support. So it could be doing the school run. I know for me it certainly is. But it could also be about where you want to see your career developing. So it's that side of it. And something that happened, I'm just going to share something that is personal to me, but something that I did, and I think there's quite a few of us that do it. We apologise for parenting, and I did it recently on we had a call with our president, and actually we were doing the senior leaders meetings for all of our new early careers, and I kept having to turn my camera off, and it's because I had my 4-year-old at home with me who wasn't yet back at school, or started school, shall we say. And at the end I sent a quick message to the president of our scientific division and just said, I'm really sorry that I had to keep turning my camera off. My little boy's in the room, so it's either that or we share the camera. And I expected just maybe an email back. No, he rang me and he said, don't ever apologise for having to be a parent. He said they absolutely are first and foremost in your life. But you know what? That was something, it just goes to show the kind of the culture that we've got here at Edwards. And that to me meant an awful lot. And I said, well, I'm still going to apologise because that's just in my nature to do it. But it was so nice that he actually picked up the phone and said that you need to apologise for looking after your son. So, yeah, and I think that's it. That kind of says about Edwards, really, and what we're trying to do. I'm not saying that we have everything in place. I'm not going to sit here and say that everything is there, but we're certainly working really hard to make sure that we have these employee forums, we have that open dialogue and the support in the business.
So wonderful to hear, because being valued and feeling that you're valued is just so important. You know, whether somebody remembers your name after meeting you a few times or whatever, or they remember something about you, but, you know, to have that human feel of, I understand where you're coming from, Mel, pick up the phone and tell you so. I mean, will that mean now that you'll stop apologising so much?
No. No, I'll probably still do it. I know. I'll probably still do it. But it was really nice. And he said, and as I'm ringing you, I'm on the school run. So that was even better. So, you know, it's just nice to know that we're all human. You know, we all have lives outside of the workplace, and actually that kind of reinforced that. And I think even more so during these weird kind of new ways of working during COVID, it was just nice to hear it. So yeah, it's really good.
It's fantastic because you're with your working family more than you are with your own family, but obviously the two merged since the whole you know COVID-19. So we're all kind of in the same boat, so I'm pleased to hear you sharing that experience. Thank you so much. I love a personal experience, so you know, my lovely speakers, if you've got the personal experience, please do share them. I do love to hear them, and I know our audience would like to hear them as well. So, Andy, right then, what can you tell me about what you've got in place down at BAM?
Well, we've got all the usual structured things that you'd expect a company as big as ours to have, but what I really love about BAM is the little subtle differences and the, you know, like the little stresses that people have, like just what's just been said then. And even director, the CEO of the entire business, we're a business that turns over £2 billion a year, so we're a huge multinational business. We sat at home on Zooms and doing and Teams and stuff like that, and all of a sudden there's just a child that walks past and all that type of stuff. That it's such a family feel. And I think if you've got all the big structure stuff that HR takes care of, so you know you've got the good mat pay, you know you've got the leave and all stuff like that, but one of the little things that I think is really cool, so we've just had a baby, so my little girl Heidi she was 12 weeks on Saturday, and one of the really cool things about our business is that we don't make an assumption that just because you're a woman and just because you're a mum that you are wanting to have the mat leave. You might be the person who is the breadwinner. You know, I've got a friend who's a tutor and he stays at home and his wife works for the NHS and she's the breadwinner. And I think what BAM's really good at doing is understanding that it's not just a woman's job to be the mum, it's a family, and it's the family that comes first, like that's been said already. So, you know, if you're an engineer working on site and you don't want to take mat leave, because, you know, you don't have to do it, most big companies can split it with their partners and stuff like that, that we're quite supportive on the flexi working. So it's almost kind of like we exist to kind of make your life easier, if that makes sense. Obviously, you've got to do your hours and you've got to do your job and everything like that. But I think one of the massive pluses of COVID is that we've actually realised that we don't need to be chained to a desk for 12 hours a day or however long people work. And, you know, I know several of our project managers and site agents, female ones, who will work at home Thursday, Friday because it's around their childcare, and no one bats an eyelid. There is never I've had it before. I've worked in jobs where you get dead anxious about, I don't know if I should tell them that, or I maybe should. I've lied to employers before because of how anxious I felt about it. And at BAM, there is zero of that at BAM. And if you ever do come across it, the support that suddenly clusters around you to support you if you ever feel like that is unbelievable. And then the two major big things that we have is women at BAM. So the groups of women and what we call male allies, which is kind of every fella that works at BAM, because, you know, we're all in it together. And young BAM as well. So we have female-specific events that go on. It's such a hard one to pin down of what we specifically do for women, because we don't specifically do anything for women. We all do it together, and that the togetherness is the bit that I love more than anything else. So that's why I'm on this panel. I'm a male ally at BAM, and I'm one of the loudest speakers about, you know, equality in the workplace, and there is absolutely zero barriers coming to work for us whatsoever. There are zero barriers on the way up. There are zero barriers on the way in. Yes, admittedly our board is white men, but those white men have been in this business for 20 odd years, and if you go back to those times when it was a man's job, in inverted commas, you know, what's coming up through the pipeline in another 10 years, the top table at BAM will be a completely different beast altogether. It's just a natural cycle of how it goes. But even the guys on the top table, every single person that I've ever come across in BAM is an enabler for success. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things we do for women, even though it's, you know, it's a real family feel and everybody's involved.
Yeah, that I'm really glad to hear that, because, you know, two people make a baby. So it's good to know that that support is just like, you know, we are family. You know, you're not doing this alone. I mean, I've had friends who have been highly qualified for jobs and, you know, been looking for a new position and fallen pregnant, for instance, and then got the job and then absolutely so stressed. Should I tell them? Should I not? Am I going to lose my job because I'm going to have a baby? I mean, what an awful position to be in. But times have changed a lot. And, you know, those kind of employers I feel are getting less and less, because at the end of the day, it's what you're going to be bringing to the party. And like you say, we're a family, so we're going to support you through this. So really refreshing to hear. Oh, goodness me, the panel, aren't they amazing? I hope you're all enjoying this. So going on now, please, to Deborah. Deborah, what have you got in place?
So I think I'm going to echo near enough what everyone else has said. We have got the full policy side of things, which you know, obviously we offer enhanced maternity pay, and then we do phased keep in touch days for returning to work after maternity leave, but also you know, after any form of absence, we will have a phased return to work. And we do have flexible working opportunities in place as well, which is always done on an individual basis. Again, not just for women, it's looked at on a case-by-case basis, but we as a business, we really understand the importance of work-life balance. In terms of the graduate scheme, every graduate coming into the business gets assigned 2 mentors, because it can be a completely, you know, upheaval going from, you know, university, and then you sit your exams, and then all of a sudden you're into the world of work, and you know, it can be a really stressful time. So all graduates are assigned 2 mentors. One of them is a director in the business, the other has been a previous sort of graduate on our scheme. So you've got 2 levels there. So a graduate can be covered for any issue or concern or question that they may have. If they don't feel that they can go to it, then they've got one of their colleagues, not necessarily like kind of a set in stone policy point of view. One of the things as a company we've always sort of thought about, our CEO is very fond of saying that the people of our company are our greatest asset. Without that asset, we see this as a company, we just wouldn't be doing well. So a lot of time and energy goes into making sure that the people here are happy. And that's one of the things that always comes back on our Great Places to Work surveys, is that, you know, it is the people that make our business. And I think if sort of the whole COVID experience has shown us anything, it's the fact that as a company, we're really embracing the flexible working idea, because it's not something that we had considered before. We didn't know how much of, you know, our work we could take home. And, you know, this has allowed us to embrace that. And I think it has been a really good learning opportunity for everyone here, to hopefully really get that work-life balance, you know, fully in place for the future. You know, I came back from maternity leave in February, before, you know, everything hit the fan, and you know, to be in meetings with directors when I've literally got an 18-month-old bouncing on my knee and wanting to wear my headset while I'm still trying to, you know, have a professional meeting, you know, to see their reactions to it and to see how accepting they've been about, you know, sort of my return to work, and just their faith in their employees to just do their job has been fantastic. So, you know, I would say that, you know, regardless, it is a fully supportive, you know, workplace overall.
Sounds great. And something you said there about work-life balance. I remember hosting an event with lots of young kids. I mean, some of them were as young as 6 years of age, but we were like, come one, come all. It was all engineering. So little ankle biters right up to university students. And an 8-year-old girl asked our panel of engineers and scientists, what is the work-life balance like in your company? She was 8, and that was her concern.
Oh my
So,
goodness.
you know, and I asked her, I found her after the whole thing, and I said, that was a great question. Why did you ask it? She just said, Mummy and Daddy are so busy, you know, they're just so busy. And she wanted to know what it'd be like when she gets older. Is she going to get that? You know, I was just so touched. So, you know, our younger generation, they watch what we do. They're watching, they're listening, and they are the next employees that we really have to look after. And so it's great to hear all this wonderful feedback from you all. Thank you so much, Deborah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I've had a couple of messages. Some people have come in late. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So from now on, I'll make sure I say everybody's name and job title. So if you started late, then you know who everybody is. So that was Deborah, and she's our talent advisor at BU UK Infrastructure. Leah, project engineer at UKAEA. I got it
have to
that
say
time.
it so many more times now.
It's flowing off my tongue now. So what do you have in place?
So my experience is obviously I've just left the graduate scheme, so that's more where I've experienced support. You're speaking to the founder of the UK AEA Women's Network. Wow, incredible. So basically at the moment we're sort of on hiatus while we work with upper management to make it an official internal support network. So instead of us sort of doing it at lunch times and buying our own donuts, we're going to get some funding, which is going to be really exciting. And that's open to everyone at UK AEA to sort of So like underrepresentation tends to result in loneliness sometimes. So we've got a few people, one member in particular had just moved apartments and she didn't really know anyone, and she came to our meeting, she came to every meeting, and loved it because she finally had like a group of people that she'd gotten to know, because it's not always easy in a corridor to walk into someone's office and introduce yourself. We also have Women in Nuclear on site, which is a sort of national group, particularly for those with careers in nuclear, be that sort of admin or engineering, all the careers in nuclear, who focus on sort of career development, which is really cool. They hold how to do outreach events and how to get ahead in your career events, which is awesome. On site, we've also got inclusion ambassadors, who basically volunteer within their departments to promote all of our EDI events, which is equality, diversity and inclusion, and sort of get everyone on board, which is really, really cool. They're sort of a point of contact within the organisation. And we've just hired an EDI partner, Marcia Orr, who is a force of nature and is making big changes at the top of the company, which is really exciting, as well as sort of moving our EDI efforts from individual basis to like a company effort. This is what we're doing. On the graduate scheme, as most people have said, you can have a mentor. You can request that mentor is female if you so wish. And you can also sort of pick up mentors throughout the organisation, as I've done. I have a collection now that I can go to if I need to. We've currently got the Athena Swan Bronze Award, which is basically an award that recognises good practices in higher education and research organisations, and it involves having targets and like a game plan of how you're going to meet those targets in terms of equality for women. And we're working towards silver at the minute. And if you don't know much about it, doesn't sound that impressive, but Athena Swan is a really big deal in sort of demonstrating your commitment to equality. We've also got, my friend recently implemented this, which is really cool. She's amazing. But essentially we've now got a policy where if you're having problems because your menstruation cycle is particularly bad, if you've got PMDD, which is premenstrual dysphoric disorder, it can properly put you out for up to a week, maybe more. So we now have a policy where you can take sick days off specifically for menstrual problems, which is awesome. I've been able to make use of that as well. And it's been implemented with no problems, which is kind of crazy, extremely fun. And obviously we've got all the sort of flexible working, shared parental leave. We have a parent buddy system. So if you want an informal friend who's already been through the whole thing, you can be linked up with someone who's happy to be your parental buddy and sort of guide you through the system, which I think in a lot of ways is almost nicer than an official system, because you can meet up for an informal coffee and just say, I don't know what I'm doing. You've got a friend there. So yeah, that's a sort of brief overview. I'm sure there's more, but this is already a very long list. And that's my sort of experience.
Yeah, it's a fantastic thing. And, mentors, mentors assemble, the fact that you've got so many people that you can call upon, because they all come with so many different experiences, and, not one size fits all. So it's wonderful that you can sort of go around and do that. And, for the whole menstrual cycle, PMT, everything else, menopause, the lot, it's something that women can feel so much shame about and don't want to share. And I myself, when going through a situation with, early set menopause, I didn't tell my employer and struggled on with the memory loss, with the sweats, with the just anxiousness, and I didn't feel I could share it because I didn't want them to think I was incompetent. Imagine that. And the understanding was there, but I didn't dare to try it out because I couldn't fear the backlash, and it's great to know that this is something that you do put, and I'm sure the other organizations have something similar, but thank you for mentioning that. It's so important. Thank you, Leah. Elizabeth, I call upon you.
Thank you. I'm glad you mentioned the menopause. Michelle Obama was talking about that Barack Obama was surrounded by all these women going through the menopause and became much more understanding about it. For me, it's been great when you're in an office that the men like to keep really cold, because I've had my menopause to keep me warm, as it were. But we're all about supporting women. So if you are a woman engineer, you should join WES. And you can join as a student or an apprentice for £15. And we have university groups. So if you're studying at university and you don't yet know about your local WES group, either there isn't one and you should start one, or you can find out. So there's lots of them all over the country. These are university societies, so they're governed by university rules. But if you actually become a WES member, then all of the university groups, the leaders of those can elect somebody to go to our university group board. So we, and me as the chief exec, we're informed about all the issues that are going on for university students. We have an apprentice board, which again is similar for women apprentices. Only 7% of all engineering apprentices are women, which is just shocking. And also a lot of the time, when you're the only girl, when you go into your apprenticeship, particularly, although this often happens at other workplaces, you've got all the boys around who are saying, well, who are you? Can you do what you want? Are you any good? Now, we know that women who go into engineering are probably some of the best engineers out there because they've had to overcome so many obstacles. But a guy doesn't have to go into work as an engineer and be challenged about whether he's qualified or not, which is really, really difficult. We also have an early careers board, which supports women in their early part of their careers. And again, they keep me informed about what's going on at the entry level and all the graduate schemes. And we have clusters. So if you're living in London, for example, we've got a lot of women engineers in our very active London cluster, but we have clusters all around the country where you can meet locally. And at the moment, we're doing things like Zoom quizzes and the rest of it to get that support, because sometimes you're the only woman in a company or the only woman of your age group, and it's really good that you can be paired up. We have a lot of partners, and we always say to our partners, we will help you to recruit, retain, return, raise up, and return women into your organisation. So we have STEM returners, which has already been mentioned from Edwards. We work closely with them because we provide the mentoring for all of the people who are returning through that scheme through our mentoring program, MentorSet, that's been running since the early 1990s. And we will be relaunching that very soon, hopefully before Christmas, so that women can come and either mentor or be mentored. It'll be slightly cheaper if you're a member of WES as well. And we're also trying to plug into all of the professional engineering institutions, women's networks. So if you are an engineer, it's really a good idea to join a professional engineering institution. And there are 34 of them, depending on what your kind of speciality is, whether you're a mechanical engineer, a civil engineer, or measurement and control, or in my case, the Institute, the International Council of Systems Engineers, although I'm also a member of the Royal Aeronautical Society because I used to work at Rolls-Royce as well. We have prizes for men as allies. The Amy Johnson Inspiration Award is given to a non-engineer who helps engineers and women in engineering. The Karen Burt Prize, which is to recognise the best newly chartered woman engineer. And I would always encourage young women to get chartership, because all of the men out there who've got chartership know that it can be, it's a very rigorous thing to get. So if you're chartered, then you basically say, hang on, I'm chartered, I know what I'm talking about. And also we celebrate, and we created International Women in Engineering Day, which is held every year on the 23rd of June, which is our birthday. This year, during lockdown, we actually extended our social media reach from 63 million potential last year to 103 million. And we were trending #1 on Twitter until Boris Johnson announced that he was opening the pubs on the 4th of July. But because we were the most sensible hashtag that day, the royal family and the Labour Party both tweeted on our hashtag, and we thought that was brilliant, because obviously they wanted to reach out to our audience who wouldn't necessarily be informed about their activities, but that meant that their audience, people who like the royal family or the Labour Party, might not necessarily know about engineering, were exposed to that. So we're all about supporting women and in the workplace. We know that it's hard, whether it's you haven't got the right fitting personal protective equipment, PPE, as we were all talking about, and we need better PPE because it shouldn't just be a man's size, because the equipment is supposed to protect you, and if you've got trousers where the lengths are too long, then you might fall, and that would cause an accident in itself. And we've got PPE now in Nottinghamshire. The company's developed PPE for pregnant women, so that if you're on site and you're 6 or 7 months pregnant, you've got enough coverage of the bump as well. And I do go on about toilets because it's such an everyday necessity. And for a lot of women who work in offices, and believe you me, there are many issues about toilets in theatres and in arenas where there aren't enough at the time available. But one of the things we've discovered, particularly if you're on site, is that having decent access to toilets is really important. I worked at Rolls-Royce in Derby, and I used to have to cross an internal road to go to the loo from my office, which meant when it was snowing or icy or raining, I literally had to go outside. And one day I got trapped in the toilet. There were 4 cubicles, and I'd never ever seen another woman in there at all. And it was in a test facility, which meant it was very noisy. And the bolt had broken, and I literally had to I was standing on top of the loo trying to hoist myself up to get out, and I couldn't get out. And I'm yelling and yelling, and these chaps walked past and they said, "Hello," and I said, "Yes, I'm stuck in the toilet, can you come in?" I said, "Is it all right if we come in?" And these things are really, really important. And if you're a woman on site, maybe on a motorway site or a rail site, again, you need to have decent access to toilets as well. And that's not just because obviously we all need to wee, but as women, I mean, if we're menstruating, if we're menopausal, if we're pregnant, we have much more different needs than men do. And so I really do think it's important that we get those sorted out. And that's where I think unconscious bias comes in, because I don't think men go around saying, let's make it super hard for women to go to the toilet. I was in a toilet cubicle in Birmingham at a conference last year, and I discovered that the hook on the door was too tall for me to hang my bag on. And I realised, and I'm 5'7", so quite tall for a woman, that actually this is probably a problem that a lot of women have if they're shorter, when I don't have a problem. So I never thought about that at all until the day that I couldn't do it. And I realised what happened was that whoever put the hooks on the doors had lined them up with the top hinges, which were about 6 foot. So of course a very tall man's gone along and done that. And I don't think for one moment he was thinking, aha, let's stop those short women from being able to hang up their bags and coats. No, I think it was entirely to do with the fact that he was a tall guy. And that's where so I think when we talk about institutionalized or unconscious bias, whether it's sexism or racism, I think what we're saying is that individual people are not deliberately going out of their way to make lives harder for women or for Black people or for other people with disabilities, for example. I just think they don't think about it. And really what a lot of this stuff about women in engineering and other equality stuff, and I'm really delighted that Equal Engineers is out there, and they've done a fantastic report on masculinity as well, which is terrific. I think actually it's to say, these are things you have to think about, because not everybody is like you. And that's why engineering is brilliant, because we need all of those people from different backgrounds, different ethnicities, different sexes, disabilities, all of them, because we all experience engineering every single day. And when we've got that variety in the engineering world, then the things that we all use as consumers and people in our everyday lives will be a lot better.
Gosh. What a roller coaster, it's just amazing that the WES is there, and congratulations, 101 years of age. I mean, it's just a brilliant grounding institution. And, we hear about the R so much at the moment, don't we? But now you've made me think of the R in a different way, and I'm really pleased about that. You really have. We've got so much going on. Thank you for all the support that you've been giving. It's amazing. So what I'm going to do now is throw out the opportunity to our student ambassadors to ask a question. And Manor has a question which will go out to anybody on our panel who wishes to answer. So if you wish to answer, just unmute your microphone, and obviously you'll see who wants to go first or second. So Manor, what's your question?
So firstly, I just want to say I think it's amazing to see the support available, especially having a mentor, because I didn't previously actually know that. But I just wanted to ask, what advice would you give to those with little or no work experience applying to the graduate schemes? And also looking at the growth and development opportunities as a female that is available once you join the company?
Okay, Leah's straight in.
Only because I strongly relate to not having any work experience. So I sort of, you know, like how in uni, like in second year, they're like, do you want to do work experience? And I kind of missed that. And then in third year, all the people who already have experience get picked, and then so on, and you end up with no work experience. That happened to me. At UK AEA, although like obviously all the work experience you can get is great, I like an enthusiasm for the role, like whatever role you're applying for at whatever company, like a genuine interest in what's going on is often as valuable as work experience can be. Like if you turn up and you kind of like, got all this experience, but I'm completely disinterested, doesn't go down well. So I sort of turned up to the company with like a lot of enthusiasm. I was basically skipping around on the assessment centre day because I was having the best time because we get to do a tour. And now I give the tours, so I'm living my best life.
Who doesn't love a tour?
I love doing the tours. It's the one thing I miss most from work is doing open days. But yeah, like an enthusiasm for the role is always like the biggest thing, and for the company, and have a look on their website and have a look what their missions and goals are, because that's always going to be their main motivator. So yeah, I'd say just have enthusiasm for what they're doing is always going to be a plus, especially if the work experience is low, like mine.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Leah. Andy, your light is on.
It is. I'm going to speak more about this afternoon, but we don't necessarily look for work experience as something that's appealing to us. We appeal to the person. We want the person. We want to know what skills you've got. We want to know how you relate those skills to what it is that we do. And I know I spoke about this last week when we did the schools event, but being dead reflective on the skills that you have, because we've all got skills, and even if it's just something simple like making a cup of tea, there are skills involved in making a cup of tea. And if you can say, you know, you use a logical process to make a cup of tea. I know there might be, depending on how north you are, there's a little bit of discrepancy on what that process might look like. But if you can look at what that process involves, involves analytical and logical thinking, and that's what a civil engineer does. You know, so if you're really reflective, and you can look at the skills that you have, and you can relate those skills to the job role, because you should be reading a job spec before you apply for anything. You know, the amount of apprentices and graduates who applied to us, and then we ask them what it is that we do or what a civil engineer does, despite them studying it, and then they kind of look there blank-faced. So, you know, relate the skills and experience, that's what we want. And then the values is a massive thing for us. We're such a value-based business. We don't particularly, I know this sounds really silly to say, but we advertise for the job, but we don't hire for the job, we hire for the person. So if your values fit our values, and we're a right match for you and you're a right match for us, then that trumps work experience any day. Because I've been an apprentice. You know, me and Fayon have had a chat and a laugh about this. I'm like Chandler Bing, I've done 5,000 different jobs. And I'm brutally honest, when you come out of university, you have the knowledge, but the experience and being on site is completely different. So the guys and girls that were on site have been doing this for a long time, including our apprentices who've been there for 4 years. This might sound a bit horrible, but to them you are seen as useless. So if they can relate your skills to stuff and you're showing a willingness to get involved, then we don't really care about work experience, because you're the right person for us.
Thank you. So I can see Mel, Deborah, Holly, Elizabeth also have answers. So let's go for Mel, then Deborah, please.
So yeah, work experience is not a prerequisite on our application process at Edwards. One thing that I would say is part of our application process, we have a competency-based interview. So when you get to a competency-based interview, it's all about tangible experience, but it doesn't necessarily have to be work experience. So don't be scared of when you see competency based. That could be from university, it could be from a part-time job that you maybe had at university, or even when you were younger. So it's just about drawing on life experiences and being able to put that into the competency-based questions. But again, echo what Andrew just said, and for us it's about the values and the behaviours that somebody's going to bring to the organisation. So we're going to touch on that, I think, again in a bit, so I'll try not to answer the question too early. But certainly don't be put off by not having the work experience. Still apply for those vacancies and really showcase yourself at assessment centres or telephone or video interviews, however this experience is going to sort of pan out over the next sort of 6 to 12 months. But yeah, just put your best self forward really, and don't be too put off by not having or lacking in work experience.
Thank you. So we'll go to Deborah, then we'll go to Holly, Elizabeth, and then Stella. And Eva, I'm not even going to try your surname because I don't want to offend anyone. But Eva, thanks for your question. She says, even being a 50-year-old. So I'm just throwing that out there. Deborah.
I think I'm just agreeing with the rest of the panelists, really. When we look for someone to join our graduate scheme, we've never really considered having work experience to be something that, you know, you need. We understand that obviously university is going to be full on anyway, and there may be circumstances where you can't have additional work experience alongside your studies and alongside maybe doing a part-time job. So it's never been something that, you know, we look at and we're like, oh yeah, you have to have this. We want the person who's going to be right for the role and who is going to continue to work towards our company mission, our company values, and just what Mel was saying in regards to life experience. You know, at the end of the day, you're at university, you're studying engineering, you're getting life experience alongside that, and sometimes that is just as important, you know, to be able to do a good job later down the line than work experience and doing a placement is. Because, like, you know, like I said, we want the right person for the role. You learning, you know, during your degree and in life itself about how to solve problems and work with others and just, you know, think on your feet. All of those things are things that we're going to value over looking at someone's CV and thinking, oh yep, they've done a year here, tick a box.
Okay, thank you. Holly.
Hello. So at Defence Equipment and Support, you need a 2-2 to get on the graduate scheme. You'll then be invited to a competency-based interview whereby we will test what skills you have. So for example, if we use problem solving, I have no doubt everyone on this call has done problem solving in their lives, in their degrees, if it be a part-time job. We've all done it, and it's how you can explain it and really sell yourself in the interview. The biggest thing that we test for in those interviews is your commitment, your ambition, and whether you're an inclusive individual that can do teamwork, which I'm sure, again, you've done in your degrees. We are so proud of what we do at Defence Equipment and Support that we will never be able to support our armed forces unless we do it as a team. So being able to show all the skills that you have developed throughout your career, throughout your life, throughout your student studies, to be able to be a team worker, be ambitious, and show that you have learned skills for engineering will be more than enough to get yourself through to the graduate scheme.
Thank you. Elizabeth, then Stella.
Yes, I want to echo that as well. The enthusiasm is really important. I remember being shown around Rolls-Royce delivery facility, and the very last thing is they bring the engine into a big hall where they go all over it and they check for any mistakes. And somebody pointed out to me and said, guess how much the floor cost? And I said, what do you mean the floor? And said it was £100,000, because what they did was they made a completely non-slip floor, it looked like a gymnasium floor, but blue and shiny. It was completely non-stick, so it meant that if anything dropped from the engine, it would drop straight down and it wouldn't roll around, so it could be found. So that's a kind of a problem that you wouldn't necessarily think needed solving, but it is about problem solving. And even at 50, that, you know, if you can problem solve, I think people will be wanting to take you on. Certainly when I was growing up, my family was very combative and we were very who's at fault, who's to blame. But through engineering, whenever I have a problem in my own family with my partner and his daughter who's in her 20s, it's a case of, okay, what went wrong? Can we fix it? How do we make sure it doesn't happen again? And so therefore there's no point in laying blame. It's a case of, oh, so you left the hob on, or, you know, you left the front door open. That doesn't help, because, you know, the hob was still on, the house was broken into. What's a case of, you know, more about how do you fix it and how do you make sure it doesn't happen again? And that makes for a much happier family life as well. And I think at the end of the day, if you don't think you've got work experience, you probably have. One of the things I've been doing during lockdown is candle making. And it's really quite a simple process. You heat up some wax, you add in some dye and fragrance, you cool it down, you pour it. Except it's not that simple because there are just so many things that can go wrong with it. And so I'm continually refining that. And if you do something like candle making or model making, I've been making these wooden models of marble runs and airships and things. That's the kind of thing that you can talk about in an interview that demonstrates that you've got that kind of mindset as to how to make a problem. So I've now discovered how not to get rough tops on my candles, basically use paraffin wax rather than soy, but I still haven't worked out how to stop it tunneling, which is where it burns right down the center, but you still use loads of wax around the outside. So but every weekend when I make some more candles, it's like, how am I going to fix the problem this time?
Oh, brilliant, brilliant. Stella, what have you got?
Yeah, I just want to echo what the panel have been saying, really. It's great that you've got work experience, but it can be in many different formats. So even think about voluntary work, because really that's still showing your teamwork, your communication, your resilience, and gosh, we've all needed resilience this year. So I think we can all show that in bucket loads at interview. So it's about that passion and motivation. So it's about, so when you come to that interview day or the assessment centre day, you can really show that you are passionate about what you want to be doing and you're motivated and you've got those soft skills to be able to be successful. So as the panel said, you know, that is the most important things.
Thank you so much. So this is I've set our ambassadors alight now. Literally, they've got questions, more questions. So Jan, and we do have about half an hour left, 40 minutes. So if we could hear from our two student ambassadors now, and if I could ask you all, our lovely panelists, to keep your answers succinct so that we make sure we get everything in. I'm loving everything I'm hearing, but I want to make sure we get everything in before 12. So Jan, you had a question, didn't you?
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for everything. It's really interesting. I was just wondering if in your company you were involved in some kind of outreach work to like trying to tackle the gender imbalance from early age and how like giving back to the community. Yeah.
Sorry, who wants to start with an answer? Who's like, Mel?
Hello. So part of our STEM outreach is that we partner with local schools. So we do the university and college outreach as well in terms of what vacancies we have available and some what we call open doors events where they get to visit the site. But we partner with, we do 6 local schools at a time within each of our local offices or sites within the UK. And what we do is we work with them to build a STEM outreach program. So that could be supporting the school to inject STEM into the curriculum. So we work with them to try and take kind of an Edwards, what we call an Edwards demo, and build that into a science class or a maths class. We also do coding and software as well. So we work with them as an employer going into those schools, but also bringing the children into our workplace for work experience. We've just done a piece recently, which is virtual work experience. So we've literally videoed as if you've come to site and gone around the business. So lots and lots of things actually, but the STEM outreach with the schools is really important to us. And obviously that encourages from a very young age, boys, girls, you know, to be interested in STEM and also know Edwards.
Fantastic, thank you. So I'm going to go now to Leah, then Stella, then Andrew, and then we'll move on to our next question.
Yeah, so outreach is basically mandatory that you do a couple of days when you join the graduate scheme as a sort of, I was going to say like payback, but I meant like paying back as opposed to a punishment. We have the Sun Dome, which is a mobile planetarium. It like inflates. It's incredible. The kids love it, and we take that into local primary schools. And we've actually had 2 graduates on the grad scheme who had the Sun Dome come to their school as children, which the communications and outreach team is mad for. They love it. But we also do tours and presentations for A-level students, university students, and just like other businesses. I've led around some very important people whose names I have forgotten, which is always really nice because you can change what level you're speaking at, and it's always really exciting to see a proper science experiment. And yeah, the communications team is always keen to have people come in and do outreach. It's so much fun. We've also got, outside of the grad scheme, my line manager is letting me have this time to do this. So there's support outside of when you're in your actual role, there's support there as well.
Thank you, Leah. Okay, from Stella, then Andrew. Thank you.
Thank you. So at Rolls-Royce, we've got a dedicated STEM team. So we have STEM ambassadors. So apprentices and graduates can join our STEM ambassadors network, and we go out to local schools and we do lots of different exciting activities. So we sometimes take out our little Vernie robots where they can be doing some programming. We've got coding kits. We sometimes run some experiments, but it's all about showing all the different wide range of engineering opportunities there is out there. So we can bring them onto site and run days where we've actually done it where you've got to make the best paper airplane, you know, and everything. So it's lots and lots of different activities, but it's about getting that enthusiasm from a young age about what amazing opportunities there is.
Ah, Leah's just saying, Rolls-Royce came to my school. Ah, dear, and I'm from Coventry, Rolls-Royce, yeah. Anyway, let's move on. So, Andrew, what have you got to say? And then we'll move on to the next question.
Yes, so we don't call it outreach. It's just part of our day-to-day. It's one of the cornerstones of what we do in business. Without working in the community and working with schools and colleges and you know, vulnerable adults and many, many different types of people, we wouldn't win the work that we win. So my job, the main bulk of my job is that work. So we have a GoSTEM program, which includes a safeguarding module. So all of our people have to do a safeguarding module to learn how to work with students and young people and how to keep them safe and each other safe. And then we do anything and everything from working within Gatsby standards, from working in curriculum. I used to be a teacher, so curriculum was my... And I think one of the main things that I'm really interested in, and we are as a business, is when you're a young kid, so like my youngest son, Ted, is 4. When you're a really young kid, you have no inhibitions of what you wanted to be. I wanted to play for Leeds United, and there was nothing that was going to stop me. I ended up playing semi-pro rugby, but there you go. But one of the things I'm really interested in is, where is that disconnect between a little kid who at 4-year-old or whatever wants to be an astronaut, and then suddenly those aspirations are brought right down below where they need to be. And one of the things that we work really, really hard on is to make sure we educate not only the students, but the parents, because parents are brilliant at sticking obstacles in on some kids, because a lot of parents try and impress what they want you to do and what they think you should do. And then the second thing as well is peer pressure. One of the things I always say to students is your education should be super, super selfish about it, because your mates aren't going to pay your mortgage. And if you're not hitting those stars that you want to hit and you're not fulfilling your aspirations, you know, you're at work a long time, and it's a long time to be unhappy. So we work really hard on moving away those obstacles and barriers and really inspiring young people, and actually teachers as well, because teachers, in my experience, having been one, can be super snobby about what you should and shouldn't be doing when you leave school. So if you're someone who's got a degree and you still want to be a plumber, then all power to you, and we should be encouraging people and arming people with the knowledge to go and do that, not impressing what we think they should be doing, but giving people knowledge of what they need to make their informed choices.
Yeah, absolutely right. And we had personal chit chats about this, didn't we, Andy? You know, about what people can tell you can and can't do. And at the age of 13, you know, I was told I don't think you're sort of ready or have the right, I don't know, you weren't intelligent enough to be a journalist. And, you know, I'm 13, and to drop something on me like that stayed with me for a long time, and I went off into a different career, you know, but I clawed it back and I got back into journalism. But, you know, never be told that, you know, you can't do what you want to do. So, Rachel, I know you have a question. So I'm going to ask for our panel to answer the question, and then I'm going to do a little reminder about the virtual booths. Then I'm going to give another question, and I'll announce who everybody is in our wonderful panel, just in case you came late?
So it's great to hear about how much you have in place for female engineers within all the different companies. So I was just wondering, what feedback do you receive from them? Is it positive, or stuff you maybe could improve on, or has it helped you to create new things?
Great question, thank you. Who would like to answer? My eyes are moving. Deborah.
I was just going to say that we are with our graduates in particular, we are constantly asking for feedback from them about what they think we could do better. I mean, we do it as a company as well, but it's the graduates that we are really focused on in terms of their succession planning, because we, at the end of the day, we would like them to be directors in the company one day, and also they're all working towards their chartership. So feedback is very important to us, and we do have an open door policy in the company. One thing that we do to make sure that we are trying to make any process easy is, especially with the graduate scheme itself, all of the graduates sit in on all the meetings that we have about the next scheme, and they assist in the scheme as well. So we do a big assessment day for how our graduate scheme works. Is we have and then we have an assessment day, and then we have face-to-face interviews. But all of the existing graduates from the year's previous scheme come along and they help on that day, because they've suggested through feedback ways that we could improve it, things that they would have liked to have seen and didn't, and through that it makes sure that our scheme is always evolving to the needs of new people coming into the business.
Thank you. Andy.
Sorry, I feel like every time you ask someone, I'm unmuting it. I don't feel like I'm taking over. It's just that I'm quite passionate about this stuff. Bottom line, without our female engineers and QSs and construction managers, I wouldn't be able to do what I do, because for anybody that's interested after this, we shot a load of interviews. We were really keen on doing virtual careers fairs, and I have with a different hat on, I make films and stuff outside of my day job, and one of the things I'm always interested in is people. I love how people interact. I'm a really people-oriented person, and whenever there is something that I feel not uncomfortable, that's probably the wrong way of putting it, but something that challenges my way of thinking, I want to dive into it and really challenge myself and find out new things. Black Lives Matter and stuff like that were a really important subject for me recently that challenged a few views. But going back to the engineers on our YouTube, we have we did a panel. So we've got a young black engineer called Rian, who's amazing. A young white engineer called India, who is an absolute character. And then we had an older white male called Aaron, who's one of our lead digital people. And they were talking about what it feels like to be a woman in construction engineering. And what in India is such a character. She looks, and through her own admission, and if you go on our YouTube and watch this interview, she looks like she should be on Love Island. And one of the things that she says this in the interview as well, and she's one of the big things that she says is, just because you look the part of something else, it doesn't mean that you can't be what you want to be. And she gets asked all the time, are you a beautician? Are you a hairdresser? And she's got the big hair, blonde hair, and the lips, and the pout, and all that type of stuff. And then Rian, who's like a polar opposite in terms of appearance, she's really little and dainty and really softly spoken. And when they say, no, we're engineers and we're on site with the guys and all that type of stuff, without that feedback and without those guys telling us how things work and everything like that, I just won't be able to produce the content. And with a marketing hat on, and Fayon will know this as well, is they are the people who will help us get the next generation in, because I'm 39 now and I can just about remember, but I'm kind of there's that gap now between me and the school kids. So I'm like looking at like an older fella, but if you get like a 22, 23-year-old speaking on their kind of level and saying like every other word, it will like. And that's how young people communicate. So without those guys and the young men as well, without young people generally, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. They are absolutely integral to everything I do every day.
Absolutely right. We need them so much. And Mel, please, what did you want to add?
Yeah, so just echoing really, but feedback's really important to our early careers program development, really. So we have our apprentice feedback forum. We're just about to go live with our graduate feedback forum as well. So once a month they get to meet as a group, discuss what is important to them and what they want to drive forward through to myself and our UK HR manager. So it's their opportunity to feedback honestly and openly to us. And again, you know, with that open door policy. But I think the other important thing that's really important, we've done a lot of, you know, virtual videos and things recently, a Talking Heads series, which is about, you know, what they do, what their role is. And I always tell them to be absolutely honest, because I 100% believe that, you know, I'm not going to censor what they say in their interviews. So, you know, tell them what you enjoy about your job. Tell them what maybe doesn't excite you as much, or maybe is maybe not so interesting thing. Because I think if we said that we enjoyed every single part of our job every single day, then I don't necessarily think that's 100% true, and I will always ask them to be honest and open. And that's why when they get to speak to our grads later, it is the grads that they can ask those questions of, because they will be absolutely honest about, you know, how it works, how things are to work for Edwards. And we absolutely encourage that type of environment here for not just the early careers, but obviously all of our employees as well. But yeah, feedback is so important, because without it, I can't develop and make changes to improve the programme. And Andrew said, yeah, I'm the 40-year-old, and I'm only now just realising that I am the oldest person in the room full of, and they don't always want to talk to me. So it's important to get the grads and the apprentices to represent the business just as much.
That's it. We're needed, but there is a reality to it all.
Yeah.
Step aside.
Absolutely.
Oh, wow. Honestly, fantastic questions from our student ambassadors. Thanks so much. So I just want to remind everybody who's watching that you are going to get your own opportunity to ask our employers, our speakers, questions of your own. So the link for the Q&A is on our website, and we're going to be going to that straight after we've had our wonderful career fair right here. So let me just remind you who you have been speaking with, been hearing from. So Stella is from Rolls-Royce. She is a campus recruiter. Give a wave as I mention your name again. Then is EDI and Wellbeing Lead at DE&S. Holly is the Talent Acquisition Manager from DE&S. You've got Mel, who's the Early Careers Talent Specialist at Edwards. Andy is STEM Lead from BAM. Deborah is the Talent Advisor at BU UK Infrastructure. And Leah is a project engineer at UKAEA. And of course, Elizabeth, Chief Executive Officer for the Women's Engineering Society, known as WES. And of course, we have our student ambassadors here, Rachel, Mano, and Jan, who are chipping in with questions. And we're at our last question from me to the panel. And this is what I'm going to put out there. So what type of progress, pathways or promotions are open to engineers, and what is your company looking for in a new recruit? Now, what I will say is you've been very generous, and a lot of you have answered a little bit of this already. So in your answers, if you could just basically be as succinct as you can in just answering the question about whether it's the new recruits or the pathways, whichever, you know, you feel you've not said already. So we'll start with Stella.
Thanks, Fiona. I'll try to be as quick as I can. So our new graduate programme is all around the young person deciding what they want to do. And part of that is that they'll have the opportunity to try the leadership programme as well. So it's open to everybody, and you'd have your mentor, like we've talked before, and you'd also have your business manager. But it's about the person that is coming into the business. So it's about, we need to be seeing that passion and motivation, but also that you are aligning with our values and behaviour, so that you can be agile, that you can be bold, that you can work together as a team, that you can actually solve problems. I mean, I think we've talked about that on the panel today. It's all about those soft skills that we need to be seeing. So I think that's the most important thing. If you take anything away from today, it's about it's great you've got your degree, but what else can you bring to the company?
Spot on, Stella. Thank you. Min.
Well, at DNS, you can pretty much be whatever you want to be. You may come in at a particular role or level, but actually the sky's the limit. You can go into any area and redeploy across any part of the business. But I'm sure that Holly, my colleague, will tell you much more about that.
Oh, I like that.
I was going to say exactly that. So once you're in on your graduate program, you'll be assigned a development manager who will be there to help you develop into exactly what you want to develop into. So we have the ability to Z-path into different roles. So you might join as an engineer, but you might finish up as a project manager. You might start as an electrical engineer, you might do something on mechanical engineers. You might start in a land platform, you might finish up on an aeroplane. We give long, flexible careers to our engineers. I mean, we have loads of engineers that have been there for 20 years, but worked on 10 different projects throughout that time. So you'd usually have to move companies to get this breadth of experience, but we really do offer a vast range of projects to enjoy yourselves on.
Brilliant, thank you. Mel.
Hi, so pathways are endless. So obviously if you're on a graduate program, you've got your 2-year rotational program that you'll follow, at the end of which there is the option to have an international placement should you wish to. So everything is really in discussion with you of what your aspirations are and what your development goals are as well. So, you know, we won't pigeonhole anybody to be a specific role and stay in that role. They will get to decide where and when they want to do the different roles. In terms of the pathways are endless. So again, I mentioned earlier that we're part of the Atlas Copco group. So we're a global organisation and we have an open job market. So every single role across the business, across the globe, across the different brands. So obviously Edwards is one of the brands of many under Atlas Copco. You can apply for any role that you want to apply for. Yes, okay, in terms of certain experienced roles, there will be a certain element of experience required, but there'll be a lot of side steps that you can take, not just vertical promotional moves to obviously kind of strengthen your skills basket, if you like, but also really to point out, and it has happened within the business, you could come in as a line operator in a manufacturing site and work your way up through the business to be CEO. And it has been tried and tested and it's been done. So it absolutely is within your capability to kind of reach for the stars, really. We have talent reviews, we have career conversations, so all the time ensuring that we are securing that continued professional development for those that want to, but also for those that don't particularly want to, you know, to soar and go to great leadership heights and are happy doing what they're doing. It's about getting different project experience and working in different areas of the business, but while staying the same role that they want to do because they're happy being who they are. So yeah, it's and then the only thing to add that I didn't add earlier, in terms of the individuals we look for us, it's about the core values. So commitment, interaction and innovation. And if you've got those, the rest will follow.
Fantastic, Mel. Thank you so much. Thank you. Andy.
Just reiterate what I said earlier. Be really honest with yourself. Align your values and who you are as a person with what we do. Because if they're not aligned, don't bother applying. Because and I don't mean that really badly and flippantly. I am a brutally honest person, and I always think that beating around the bush can give people false hope and false aspirations. If your values don't align with ours, then cool, that's brilliant. If they do, we definitely want to hear from you. In terms of, you know, echoing what everybody says, the only difference I would say is don't come with an aspiration that is 15 years into the future, because 15 years is a long time. Maybe come with a short-term goal. So in 3 years, I want to be here. In 5 years, I want to be there. You know, everybody would like to be a CEO of a company earning hundreds of thousands of pounds, but I think be really realistic about what your aspirations are and where you see yourself. Probably short-term to medium, because, you know, if you look at lifespans of people who work within companies, I'm someone who doesn't work in the same place or doing the same job, certainly for more than 5 years. So be really, really honest with yourself and align those values and have a really clear plan on where you want to be short and medium term.
It's fantastic, isn't it? It's like, where do you want to be? Fantastic. But then you've got to work back from that point quite a way. So thank you. Deborah.
Same as everyone else, really. What we look for is someone who is going to, work in line with our core values. The main part from this is we want our employees to have a can-do attitude and a willingness to learn, as we believe this is one of the most important things, to be able to empower our employees to make their own decisions. There are a huge number of progression opportunities within the company as we are constantly growing and adapting to changes in the industry. We are nationwide. We encourage internal moves across all of our companies, all of our offices, and we fully support succession planning to ensure that all of our graduates are following their chosen career path. Our graduate scheme, it is rotational, so you do get a full understanding of the business, and but the main part of that we want our graduates to become chartered, and we will support them to become chartered within the first 5 years of joining our business. But where they end up in the company after that time is entirely up to them. It is down to them to research the different areas of the company, actually think about what areas of the rotational scheme they have enjoyed the most and where they want their career to go, and let us know that decision so that we can support them accordingly.
Brilliant, Deborah, thank you. And Leah, somebody that's been on that path most recently, I suppose, more than anybody else on the panel. What say you?
Yes, I'm going to chat about progress. So our graduate scheme is not rotational. You're put in a role and given graduate time to develop in that role, or outside of that role, actually, you can do whatever you want. And that gives you a chance to sort of settle in and sort of make friends and sort of solidify where you are in the company. But there's also the opportunity to move around if you want. One of my friends was in a new place every 2 months while he was having a look at what he enjoyed. He was on one, to be honest, but he has found somewhere now. And then postgraduate scheme, you're promoted in post. You can either go up sort of a management role, like traditional, you become line manager and then their manager. Or we've got a new professional pathway. So you can be an expert engineer or scientist and be rewarded and paid as such, instead of you having to go up the leadership role, because it's not for everyone. We also had our CEO visit the grads not long ago, and we asked him, do you not worry that we're all just going to leave once you finish training us? Because I'm sure it's something that's crossed many companies' minds. And he actually said, if it's the best thing for your career, you should leave. And then we hope that you come back with more experience and more skills and a more confident person, which is what he himself did. He is, I hate to be, our CEO is an ex-graduate, but he is an ex-graduate. Our chief engineer did the same, came up through the graduate scheme, got his PhD through it, left, and then came back in a chief engineer role, like the youngest chief engineer we've ever had. So there is very much an awareness of like, what's best for your career is best for the business. And it's such a nice place to work. A lot of people do come back having gained experience. So yeah, that's, the pathways are more sort of open. You can do what you want, that kind of thing.
That's really fantastic. Thank you. Testimony to your company for people to go, come back again. And Elizabeth, how would you answer this one?
3 things. 1, follow your bliss. Go and do what you want to do, because life is far too short to do something that you find boring or hard or you don't want to do. Secondly, sometimes a sideways move is better than an upwards move, because it gets you into the right field that you're in and expands your experience. But thirdly, and this is the most important advice for women, apply for the job. Women are known not to apply unless they've got 100% of the essential criteria. I'm not really fluent in French, but I know quite a lot, for example. So I would just say, If you like the job and you fulfill at least 3 criteria, apply. And throughout your career, women often sit around waiting to be noticed and say, look how brilliant I am, look how well I'm doing my job. That's fantastic, but that's not going to get you your promotion. You need to say to your boss, I want a promotion. Here's where I want to be in 3 years. Here's where I want to be in 10 years. And you need to push for that. I know it's against our nature sometimes, but really, it's really, really important advice. Apply, apply, apply. Because if you don't get in the game, you can't win.
Oh gosh, preach. Apply, my gosh, you're so right. I did this to myself just a few months ago. My husband was like, yeah, but you've got da-da-da. I went, yeah, but he went, what are you doing, woman? Just apply, you know.
The
You're
most
so
annoying
right.
thing is when you don't apply and you see some idiot who you know and think, how the hell did he get that job? Because you didn't apply.
Oh wow, you got to be in it to okay then, so we've got about 10 minutes left. Honestly, I could go on and on for hours with you lot. The stuff's amazing, but you are also, of course, you know, we've got our wonderful student ambassadors here, and I wonder if any of you have got any questions. We've got about 5 minutes, 6 minutes or so. Are any of you burning? Manon, Rachel, Jan, anyone burning with a question to ask before we finish?
It's just about trying to set yourself aside for the competition, because I completely relate to maybe not applying to something because I could completely get that. So it's kind of, how can you put yourself out there in the best way and get yourself across to these companies, because I understand that you have the days at the assessment centres and stuff. I wondered, is that like the only route that you offer? You have to go to the assessment centre or anything?
Okay then, let's have a couple of people answering this one. So Deborah and Mel, please.
I can answer this very quickly. In terms of setting yourself apart, research the company that you're applying for and actually be interested in the company that you're applying for. You know, be passionate about it, sing its praises and want to work there, and that will make you stand out so much. You have no idea. And then in regards to other opportunities, you don't have to do the assessment day. You don't have to necessarily go down the graduate route straight from university. If you research the company and there's another position that interests you, what Elizabeth said, just apply, still show that same enthusiasm, and then you could potentially get a different route to follow. Really, it doesn't have to be via the graduate scheme.
That's great. Mel.
Yeah, same. Again, I mentioned before about the open jobs market. So all of our vacancies are online. So whether that's a more junior role or whether it's the graduate role that you want to go down, we've also obviously got apprenticeships as well across the business. But for me, as somebody that literally looks at every single application for our UK product companies, your personal statement. Tell me about you. I want to know the personality behind the application, because I can see what grades you've got, I can see your CV, but I want to know who you are as an individual, because again, for me, it's about the values, it's about the behaviours. We can teach the technical, we can teach the knowledge, but to have the right attitude and personality to come and join the business, that's what I'm looking for. So I literally do read through every single one, and you know, some people put 2 lines and some people put a whole essay, but yeah, I go through all of them. It's very time consuming, but for me it's really interesting. And then when and if you get shortlisted to assessment centre and I see you face to face or virtually face to face, however that may be, I can put a personality to the face, and that to me is really important. So yeah, showcase yourself, really do put yourself forward.
Thank you, Mel, for saying that, because it's shocking at doing this. We do not sing this. We wait for another sister to praise us. You know, you eldest stepdaughter, she's studying in university in York now, and she's highly academic. But when it came to her personal statement, I'm like, where's all the stuff? What, this person doesn't know you, Adassa. Oh, well, I can't mention that. Yes, write it down. I had to like be over her, you know. what about such and such that happened? They're not going to want to write it down. You know, you can throw stuff out afterwards, but get it all down and then let's pick through it. But come on. Oh, sorry. Are there any other burning questions from our ambassadors before I wrap it up? Okay. All right. We did it. Oh, I've so enjoyed. What a great way to start the week. So totally enjoyed myself. Thank you to Equal Engineers for asking me to host. I've so enjoyed myself. But I want to say a massive thank you to our wonderful panel. So you can wave or whoop. Everybody unmute. Come on, everybody unmute. Let's go rogue. Let's go rogue. So yeah, well, I'm going to go through the goodbyes to each one of you now, and in 2 words, just you could say something in just literally 2 words. So thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you. Brilliant time.
Brilliant. Leah, thank you. Thank you, Holly.
Thank you so much.
Andy, thank you so much.
It's such a pleasure. Come and see us this afternoon.
Hello, Mel. Goodbye.
Bye. Thank you. Absolutely. Come and talk to us.
And Deborah.
Thank you so much. Have a lovely week.
Min, hello. Goodbye.
Thank you. Whoop whoop.
My first whoop. Woo! Stella, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Come and see our graduates in the next session.
And to our wonderful student ambassadors, to Jan.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your question. Manu.
Thank you, loved it.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your question. And to Rachel.
Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Right then, careers fair. My goodness me. So, you know, if you were watching today and you were like, chomping at the bit, I've got a question, then please do join us straight after here, because we have the opportunity to have the virtual employer booths. Now, if you want to find the information, it's on the equalengineers.com website. Skip over to there as soon as we're finished here. These wonderful employers, our panel speakers, are going to be there after a quick break. They need it, but from 12 o'clock you can join them there. And I just want to thank everybody working at Equal Engineers behind the scenes, making this happen. Thank you to Ruth and her team. Thank you to Fraser, Technical Wizard. Thank you to Mark McBride, who is Mr. Equal Engineers, whose diversity knows no bounds. So thank you all for joining us. I hope you've got lots and lots out of our Women's Engineers Fair, and we'll look forward to hearing from you, seeing you soon, and get across to our virtual booth. But for us lot, thanks a lot. Take care. Bye.